Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community. We are racing C Class front-wheel drive cars. First race goes to the Silverstone National Circuit, a track I don't think we've actually run on Forza 5 for a versus community. Anyway, I'm not a huge fan of this layout because I don't really like the way the track comes off through Mags and Beckett's, but seeing as we hadn't run it before, I thought I would give the track a go. And on this first lap, everything was all relatively calm. Everybody made it through the first couple of corners. There were a couple of bumps, but nothing major. I don't think any cars were damaged or certainly seriously damaged in the first couple of corners, which is always nice to see, especially seeing as they are a little bit nasty turns. As we come up through these final couple of turns, you can see the field is all very close together. The Integra we're following here has got some decent grip and can carry a lot more speed through the corners. The CRX is even trying to get up the inside of the Scirocco, and then comes the speed of the Scirocco. It has a lot of straight line speed, and sure enough, just blasts its way past the Integra on the straight bit, and then the rest of the field you see all in shot in the background. It was an incredibly close field, this one. Lap times between the cars did not vary very much between the vehicles, which, meant things were very close. The Integra got a very good run out of the first corner. The Astra couldn't really do too much about it, and the Integra finds himself up into the lead, if out a little bit wide, and then we have the speed of the Volkswagen as we go on to the next straight. And the Astra wasn't too bad in a straight line. It didn't really matter where you looked in this one. This was a pain in the arse to edit for, because there was just action going on everywhere, basically. Somebody was trying to overtake somebody, and cars were too wide throughout the field. Certainly in these early couple of laps, there were 2 and 3 wide absolutely everywhere. This Corrado was making his way through the order, getting past an Astra and another VW, and then simply out-dragging the CRXs. The CRXs, I had a CRX, they were great cars through the corners. They tended to lack a little bit of straight line speed, and certainly the Volkswagens were the fastest when it came to the straight line bit. We had a very noisy Scion TC, was by far the noisiest car with his supercharger whining away. This was the pack by, I think it was lap 2 or 3. This is what it still looked like, maybe a little bit later on. Just everybody was within camera shot. It was really rather incredible. Like, we often have maybe sort of pairs and threes of cars stay close together. It's not very often you have this many cars all this close together. I mean, you could, if the camera was sort of looking back from first place, you could probably see back to 12th or 13th down the main straight. That was how close everything was. The Scion was trying to get to the inside of the Astra. The Volkswagen just ran out of grip a little bit, and it's 3 wide down the back straight as they all jostle for position. The Scion, though, was not the quickest of this bunch, but they were all quicker than the Integra. The Scirocco tries to get to the inside. The Acura has so much grip that he can hold on to his position. The Scion is fighting away with the Astra trying to get past. The Celica is joining in the fun, trying to make it almost 4 wide as they round the final corner. The Volkswagen's got himself in trouble and dropped to the back of this group. There's another Integra trying to join in. The CRX is at the back of this trade, and then they all change places on this lap. I don't quite know where the Volkswagen was going. That's not quite where you want to be. The Astra is trying to get to the inside of the Scion. The Celica stays around the outside of the pair of them, and a little bit of a touring car line around that first turn, and still everybody was arguing over basically every position. The Celica this time round just a little bit too far back to try anything into the next corner. And that's how the race would continue. This little group would change positions almost every corner. At this moment in time, it was the Scirocco that was leading the way from an Integra and an Astra. The Integras were very good through the corners, but lacked a lot of straight line speed, which meant that this Integra was now coming under pressure from the Astra into turn 1, but then could carry so much speed through the corner. He was now right up on the back of the Volkswagen. Got a very run out of the corner. Beginning past the Scirocco was quite difficult with its straight line speed. It was not an easy car to overtake, or certainly not an easy car to keep ahead of. The Integra gets a dive through the Maggotts and Beckett sort of turn off the main course, runs a little bit wide, and then there's the speed of the Scirocco, then it goes flying past it again, and the Acura has got a lot of work to do again. The VW Corrado would then join in this little group as well. The Corrados were one of the probably perhaps better overall cars in this one. They had an awful lot of straight line speed while still not being too bad through the corners as around the final turn. The Integra gets the pair of them with its supreme grip on the inside. You can see the group behind them as well. There's 5 of us behind this lot, all fighting over position. Again, we come on to the start-finish straight, though. The Integra's lost the position to the Volkswagen. Now comes the other Volkswagen up the inside into turn 1. No matter for the Acura, with so much grip, it can go around the outside. There was not much space between the 2 cars on that one. Well done for not touching it at all. Yeah, that was pretty close. Just about enough room for the wing mirrors. Now the Integra is almost having a look. Such good brakes on the Acura that it was having a look into the next corner. This white Corrado was making his way through the field as well, as a couple of us run a little bit wide into turn 1. The Astra was fighting with the CRX. The VW has a big dive. The CRX just about sees him coming. Gives it room. CRX trying to go the long way around. Has a little bit of a bump with the Astra. The Volkswagen makes up all of the places. It does help when the cars in front have a little bump and end up out wide. The Astra was thinking about trying to come back. Astra had decent straight line speed actually, but was just a little bit too far back to try anything on the Volkswagen. The Scion dropped back a little bit into the clutches of this rather mad group. The leader and second place were a little bit further up the road, but they were certainly getting some free air while this lot all fought over what was now third place. It's just a lot of cars in one place. Little bit of a tiny lag jump there almost caused problems for the Corrado. The Scirocco's running wide through turn 1. There's another VW running wide through the first corner. Now we have 5 cars all trying to fit into the same piece of road. Corrado very nearly ends up slicing the nose off the Scion. Everybody's all fighting over whatever position. In the end, ends up a little bit of trouble for the Scion. And the Integra just run a little bit too wide, just trying to carry that bit too much speed. And now they're falling into the clutches of this big old group of cars behind, which I was leading at this moment in time. I get to the inside of the Scion and have a go. The Astra's all locked up and gives the Scion a little bit of a bump. There's another Volkswagen in the background joining in. The Astra's there. The CRX is there as well, just for good measure. It was a completely and utterly crazy race further back. At the front, things were relatively quiet for the Celica that had made its way through the field and got to the front and then driven away from the rest of us while we all fought over whatever position. Yeah, it certainly was made easier. You could just about see the Integra in second. Certainly made easier when all of us are too wide the entire lap. But still, good drive for the Celica. Stayed out of trouble, and then the driver Tars just struggle a little bit with the corners. Does manage to keep it on the track though, which is surprising considering their normal drivings. Further back, and it was fourth place. Sorry, that was the hotly contested one. The white Corrado would get into third. This was all over fourth place. The Scirocco with the huge straight line speed, but lacked the handling of the other cars. The Corrado here much more middle of the road, while the Integra was the best handling, but had no straight line speed. And then there's me just about caught up to the back of this group. The Acura tries to get to the inside on the exit of the turn, but was never likely to be able to outdrag the other 2 cars to the finish line, which means it is the Scirocco that would get 4th ahead of the other VW. The Acura would be behind, and I would join in the mix of the group. It was fantastic fun, that first race. It was amazing fun. The cars were so close. The racing was really very good. So I had some high hopes going on to the next race at Long Beach. My CRX was good through the corners, and I love Long Beach, so I figured I might stand a decent chance of doing well at this circuit. The first turn is always an interesting one. In this one, I got a bit of a bump from a Mini. Amazingly, that did no damage to my car whatsoever. We all made the first big braking zone okay, and then everything went catastrophically wrong with lag. Unlike the normal lag we've seen in the last few races where it's just been everything going all horribly laggy, no, this was one car having a fit across the track. You can see it flying around doing all sorts of silly things that caused all manner of problems on the opening lap. there was a little bit of... I somehow survived this first lap relatively okay. And a few cars did make it through. This Fiesta here trying to go around the outside of a Civic, not quite got the grip for that one. A few cars made it through, or quite a few cars made it through the opening lap. Unfortunately, there were a fair few that had to take a trip to the pit lane. As I said, I did survive the opening lap. Somehow I slammed on the brakes and let the chaos go on ahead of me. I managed to sort of work my way back to the tail end of the field, and would then have a bit of a dice with a Celica trying to get to the inside on the first corner, and then there was going to be a vanishing gap there. So it'd be safer just to jump on the brakes and find another point to get past. Celica got a little bit of a sort of a bump off the curb, tried to get up the inside here, couldn't quite do it. And so, yeah, wait for the next corner. Again, just a little bit too far back on the way into the turn, but I had enough drive out of the corner to pull up alongside, and then I was going to go and chase down a Civic. Unfortunately, this was about all of the racing action that we got in this race, as everything would to very quickly go downhill. First of all, a couple of cars that had been killed on the first lap went to the pits to fix their damage, as you often do. And then Forza got very confused as to what to do with them. While you're in the pit lane, it's all very well and good being in ghost mode. It's when you leave the pit lane that there was some concern. Now, if this happens in Forza 4, it just leaves the car in ghosts until they get sort of stuck out of each other. Apparently, it doesn't do that. On Forza 5, it doesn't do that, which means that when you get player control of the car, the game gets very unhappy and throws them at a wall, which is not what you want on the start-finish straight. You don't really want cars there. And then Lag would also get very unhappy with a Fiesta for no apparent reason, and would throw that car sort of sideways at a wall. I was sort of coming past this part at that time. The Fiesta would tee up the CRX and then throw it straight into the runoff area at the first corner, which is not what you want. So my CRX was completely out of this race, utterly destroyed. The other CRX was then also coming into the same section of track and would just get thrown into the air. I don't know why, but just throw the CRX up into the air and it'll be fine. So yeah, that was both CRXs broken in the large runoff area, the first corner. This was the only other bit of on-track action that I saw throughout the entire race. This group of cars would end up all of a sudden very, very close together in the braking zone for the first corner. The VW gives the Mini a little bit of a bump, unsettles the Mini but slows down the VW. The Civic can sort of skirt around the outside and gets past the Volkswagen. We then now go and try and chase down the Mini. The Celica's got himself a little bit of clean air to the cars behind. The Mini runs the curve, ends up forcing him out wide, bumps into the wall. The Civic's trying to find the way past, looks around, going around the outside, can't really do it there. Cuts back to the inside and just gets a better run out of the corner. Can out-drag the Mini up towards the next turn. Mini thinks about having a little bit of a look, but in the end can't do very much. Lag would still be a pain throughout the race. As you see, the CRX got randomly flung up into the air yet again. This Mini had to been to the pits to fix his car, would then get killed yet again by the very laggy Integra and get parked on the roundabout. And yeah, not really where you want to get killed. As far as the actual race goes, as amusing as it was with all of the silly lag going on, it was a fairly uneventful race. There was a Mini out in front that was miles ahead of this Integra that was miles ahead of third place. You couldn't really see each other on the track. Just nobody was close together. The car ahead here was a lapped down Mini that I think would been broken and gone to the pits. There were, by the end of the race, there were six or seven cars that were broken and not moving, and quite a few more had to take trips to the pit lane for various levels of damage. At the front, as I said, it was a Mini that would take a relatively easy victory around here. Survived all of the lag silliness, and it was still a very damn fast car around here. Yeah, it got to the front, drove away from everything, and survived all of the laggy madness. It would be interesting to see how some of the cars would have fared, but yeah, everything was broken. Only 5 cars finished this race. That's how many cars. I think it's the lowest finishing numbers we've had on Forza 5. Not the lowest we've had ever. That was 2 with pickup trucks at Maple Valley. But yeah, pretty low finishing numbers here. And then the driver tires decided he wanted to join the broken roundabout. Yeah, we parked all of our broken cars on the on the roundabout. And even with the 5 cars that finished, I think only a few finished without damage. There were a few more, I think 9 were still circulating, but quite a few of them had to go to the pits to fix their cars from damage. It was a mess. It was a real mess, Long Beach, which was a bit of a shame because I was looking forward to driving that track. But never mind, we move to the 3rd and final race at the Sebring Club Circuit, the first hairpin here. Always a little bit of a scary track to run in versus the community, as it is a rather narrow hairpin, and there have been quite a few shunts there in the past. This time round, though, we all made it through okay. The Punto gets a big slide on this back straight. Unfortunately, there was to be a collision as a CRX had a wheel on the grass in the braking zone here, and then you can't stop the car when you do that. Two CRXs, there we go, were killed in that one. Everybody else, though, made it through this opening lap relatively cleanly. The Scirocco trying to find a way past the Fiat, couldn't quite make it stick around the outside, then has a dive into the next turn, but again, can't quite stop the Volkswagen, ends up out a little bit wide and across the grass, and the Fiat can keep hold of its 3rd position. Further back was equally lively. Again, me starting from the back of the field, was trying to make my way through the order as quickly as I could. I was ending up in a tussle with a Golf that got a little bit unhappy in the braking zone. I saw an opportunity, sneaked up the inside. Civic was a little slow off the corner. I end up going to the outside while the Golf goes to the inside. That's not a good place to be 3 wide. I tried to keep my car there, ended up out on the grass, so couldn't quite do that. The Golf has got past another Golf. Gets past on the outside. I see another gap that I can squeeze the little Honda through. Now we're 3 wide again on the exit of the final turn. Admittedly, the Hyundai was slightly on the grass in that one, and I managed to make my way right back up to the back of the Silver Golf where I'd started this lap on. I got a good run down the start-finish straight, but the outside of turn 1 is not a particularly easy manoeuvre to make work, and the Golf covers the inside very well, so I can't get a cutback on him. And then as we drive out of this corner, the Golf just has enough acceleration to get away from me, so I can't really trouble him into the next turn. However, it'd be later that lap that I would find a way past. The Golf was a little slow off the corner. I saw my opportunity to pull up alongside, but I'm still having to go the long way round. This is the grip you get from the CRXs. They are good cars to drive, good fun vehicles. It's all the way around the outside of the final turn. I didn't expect that manoeuvre to work. I gave it a go, but I wasn't expecting that one to actually work. But yeah, I managed to get past. The Hyundai was also trying to make up for his little off as he draws alongside another Golf down the start-finish straight. He too finds himself stuck on the outside for turn 1. A little bit further ahead, though. The Golf has a big dive, a big late braking contest there. The Veloster can just get him on the exit of the corner, basically. A relatively simple cutback, and then it's the drive down the back straight. And the Hyundai has enough straight-line speed to make the manoeuvre stick. At the front, and things were not quite as chaotic as they had been at Silverstone. They were all very close. It was just a long line of cars. Unlike at Silverstone, where there was a big group of vehicles, this one everybody could see the cars in front and the cars behind. Everybody could see quite a long way up the order. We were all pretty close. Again, all setting very similar lap times. Despite the large differences in cars, the lap times were all relatively close between the vehicles. I found myself in quite a long tussle with the Golf. After getting past it, I couldn't really shake it, and was still having to try my best to defend. This time the Volkswagen getting a very good drive out of turn 1. Our cars were pretty even. The Golf maybe a little bit more straight line speed, my CRX a little bit more grip, having to go defensive into this next corner. We saw the grip the CRX had going around the outside of the Volkswagen. It was going to be a tall order for the Volkswagen to get around the outside of the Honda, and in the end he couldn't quite make that manoeuvre work. And now I have just a little bit of breather back to the car behind. I don't have to worry about going defensive into these next couple of corners. Yeah, it was a good fun battle further back, and at the front things were equally close as well. After a few offs from various cars, the Celica that was running in second had an off and dropped back into third. There was, after the second straight, the braking zone that we've often seen a few out-braking manoeuvres, somebody had clonked the signs and removed the braking boards, which meant quite a few people had offs at that particular turn. I think that was where everybody was falling off the road, just pushing it a little bit too much, and with a lack of braking boards, yeah, we saw quite a few cars running wide, the Celica being one of them. trying to get past the Scirocco. Celica much faster through the corners and probably the quicker car over the course of the lap. But the Volkswagen had so much straight line speed, Toyota could not find a way past. Every time they came to a straight, the Volkswagen would fly off. When it came to a braking zone, the Celica would catch up, but it was proving very difficult to find a way past, because that gap the Volkswagen got the minute he got to a straight was so huge that your main overtaking bit being in a braking zone, the Celica was having a trouble. The Fiat was another one to fall prey to the same corner that they all were. Just outbraked himself and would drop back behind the Astra. Still, the Fiat was quite a quick car and was trying to make up for his slight mistake. The Astra in the end just leaves a gap, doesn't quite go defensive soon enough. The Fiat sees where he can get past and has a dive up the inside. Doesn't quite fully get it done though. A little bit of a bump on the exit. The Fiat's still stuck on the outside for this final turn, but he has enough grip, he has enough corner speed in that car to hold it around the outside. As I said, it's a long way to go around the outside of that final corner. You can make it work, but you need a car that is fairly decent on handling. And while these two were fighting, they were certainly slowing each other a bit down, and that was allowing my Honda to catch up to this group. One thing we did notice with this race, certainly, is that because the lap times are all so close between the vehicles, it was very hard to make up time, make up the gaps that appeared in the field. So yeah, it was certainly again another interesting race at the front. It was a Honda Prelude that would take victory. In the end, it was a relatively comfortable victory on the final couple of laps after the Scirocco. I think the Scirocco was right on the back of the Honda and then promptly ran wide of the corner and fell back. So it looks like the Honda had a relatively easy time. He didn't necessarily. The Celica and the Scirocco were keeping him honest at various points. But by the end of the race, the Honda was about the only one that didn't fall off the road, and he would go on to take victory as somebody misses the first turn, which is fairly common. The Celica was still trying to find his way past the Scirocco and just couldn't make a move stick anywhere. Despite having so much more grip, the Scirocco going very defensive into this final turn, runs wide on the exit. Celica can get up the inside and has the much better line out of the corner, but then has nowhere near the power, nowhere near the straight line speed of the Volkswagen, and sure enough, the Scirocco can just drive past him in a straight line, which means that it will be the Volkswagen that gets second. The Celica has to settle for third, and the Volkswagen just goes fly. Yeah, that's the driver task for you on this on that first hairpin. Whenever they take control at the end of the race, they often do silly things there. I was just at the back of this little battle going on as we came onto the final lap. I had just caught up to the back of the Astra, and I saw a Honda-sized gap and had a dive up the inside. The Astra giving me a little bit too much space as he runs a little bit wide out of the corner. I managed to get the CRX past. I was a little bit concerned. I knew the Astra was pretty good in a straight line. Fortunately for me, I got a very quick line through that final corner, and even though the Vauxhall is perhaps a little bit of a quicker car, come down the straight, I had such a big lead that I was safe to take this position. Sebring had been a very good fun race as well, and the driver tars scare the crap out of my Honda. That was very nearly a very dead CRX. Yeah, Sebring and Silverstone have been amazing fun. Some of the closest racing we've had on Forza 5. I think this has probably been, with the exception of the Long Beach silliness, the first and third races here were probably the best we've had on Forza 5. They were incredibly good fun, and despite the huge variety of cars, we were getting very, very similar lap times, which meant we had a lot of very, very close racing. Yeah, it was really very good fun. Anyway, that is it for this week's FailRace versus the community. The next one shall be on Thursday the 12th of March. We're going to be on Forza Horizon 2 doing some racing with S1 class cars. We're going to be doing some circuit racing. We're only going to be racing on tarmac though, so don't need to worry about taking the cars off-road. We're going to be on the main island as well. You do not need the Storm Island expansion to take part. If you would like to sign up and race in that event, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and that is where you sign up. Anyway, that is it from me, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.